Burada şimdi YouTube'da atacağım ben bundan sonrasını. Buradan keser atarım büyük ihtimal. YouTube'da kendini görmek isteyen varsa YouTube selam yazsın. Chat'i ama düzgün bir yere almam lazım. Mesela buradan abone olsak katıldakilere klanı alacaktın ya, Twitch abonelerini alacağım. Yok, Twitch abonelerini almayacağım. Sadece YouTube'da katılanlar benim için önemli yani. O kişiler benim için daha değerli demeyeyim de. Burada abone olması kolay. Twitch'te, YouTube'da biraz daha zor. O insanlara biraz daha ayrıcalık tanımak istiyorum. Ve çok fazla kişi alamıyorsun klana. O yüzden onları seçtim.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Thanks for joining us for today's live stream as we unveil Path of Exile Crucible, which launches on April 7th on PC and Mac and on April 12th on console. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make
Chris
sure you
abim
follow the descriptions
geldi.
below in order to claim your Sphinx wings.
Abim ya yakışıklanmış gene.
Speaking of live streams, this is our last
Ses arttırır mısın? Tabii.
dedicated Path of Exile 1 announcement stream for around 6 months.
Nasıl?
That's because our 3.22 expansion announcement will occur during the ExileCon livestream in late July. Set yourself a reminder to tune in because we'll also be unveiling massive amounts of information about Path of Exile 2, including revealing the date that its beta will start.
Hı?
Okay, back to today's livestream.
Bir dakika,
Here's
ne
what
dedi?
you can expect.
Neyse.
We'll start with the trailer for Crucible, followed by a deep dive on the League itself. Then we'll cover this expansion's endgame improvements, including the introduction of Atlas gateways and revamps to both Breach and Abyss leagues. We'll discuss changes to Path of Exile's balance metagame, including changes to the passive
Breach ve Abyss'i değiştireceklermiş.
an overhaul of the Saboteur and Pathfinder Ascendancy classes, 9 powerful new Val skills,
Lan?
and some of the new unique items you can build.
Saboteur ve Pathfinder'ı değiştireceklermiş.
We'll cover improvements to the Ruthless game mode and the League launch boss kill event, before diving into the new Supporter Pack series. The live stream will then conclude with a Q&A session between Ziggy
geldi.
where we'll answer questions from
Bir
Twitch
sıcaklık
chat.
geldi.
After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes. Let's get started with the trailer for Path of Exile Crucible.
Konuş abim. Ver abim. Burada konuşmayacağım. Trailer'ı izleyelim. Sadece ahlarım.
Hail, one of many. Eons ago, my kind walked the molten surface of this world. Now, we seek a champion.
Allah Allah, ne oluyor?
You must endure the heat of the crucible.
Ne bu, ritüel mi?
To forge weapons unlike any Rayclast has ever seen.
Resolute teknik. Increase strength dexterity.
Take up the power of the Titans.
Ne oluyor oğlum?
And bring obliteration.
Chris abim arkada heykeli. Yeni 9 tane Val gemi. Abyss rework. Breach rework. Atlas'ta bir şeyler olmuş. Mastery değişmiş. Pathfinder rework. Allah'ım benim bu it. Benim bu it. Saboteur niye Cyclone kullanıyor? Custom Crit oynuyor. Saboteur niye Custom Crit Cyclone oynuyor? Neyse. Oh, bana bir sıcak geldi. Bana bir sıcak geldi. Hadi. Konuş abim.
In Path of Exile Crucible, you'll learn about an ancient race of titans who once shaped the primordial surface of Rayclast. In this league, you will earn the ability to forge their power onto your weapons.
Okay.
And what form does that power take? In an iconically Path of Exile way, it's the ability to imbue your weapons with their own passive skill trees.
Yok artık.
These Crucible trees can have quite an impact on your character build.
İteme skill ağacı yapmışlar.
In addition to the regular mods on this bow, its Crucible tree grants additional physical damage, physical to chaos conversion, the Master Fletcher notable passive, improved grace effect, and level 10 lesser multiple projectiles. While this is certainly a decent tree to get, it's not even the maximum depth and could be even more optimized for your build. In order to forge these powerful trees onto your weapons, you'll need to complete crucible encounters. There's one in each area. Each encounter takes place at a crucible forge. As you approach the forge, you'll have the choice of which of your equipped weapons you want to focus on. This can include ones on your alternate weapon swap if you want to improve one you're not currently using. After selecting a weapon, you channel it at the crucible forge to spawn monsters. The longer you channel for, the more dangerous and rewarding the encounter becomes. As you spawn additional monsters, they combine together to create larger and more fearsome foes that grant even more experience for your crucible passive tree.
Lan ne oluyor?
Being able to ramp up the difficulty of the encounters is a double-edged sword. While it gives you the opportunity to make rapid progress on your crucible weapon crafting projects, it comes with significant risk to your character.
Okay.
It's easy to accidentally overwhelm yourself and make an encounter
Bu
that
biraz
is too
şey gibi,
dangerous.
ultimatom gibi.
Channel carefully and adapt to what your character is capable of. When you first find a weapon,
Drop yazmanıza gerek yok.
unlocked.
Tutturulmuş gönderiye bakın yazıyor orada drop.
Will unlock and reveal its tree, as well as allocating the first skill. You can only allocate one skill at each tree depth, so you'll need to decide which path through the tree is best for your build. As you get deeper into a tree, more and more experience is required to unlock skills. The final depths
Daha
can
çok
take
herkes
quite
drop
some
oğlum yazmayın
investment,
yukarıda
even if
yazıyor
you found
bak.
rarely on endgame items,
Chat'in en
but
üstüne
also
bakın
have some
orada
of the most
yazıyor.
powerful properties. For example, this wand has two depth 5 skills to choose from. One of them allows all damage from your Freezing Pulse and Eye of Winter skills to poison, and the other allows various brands to be attached to your Summoned Reaper.
What the?
There are many such modifiers to skills that will enable very interesting build combinations.
Oğlum bu ne?
In addition to all types of weapons, shields can also
William
be
Kanat
empowered
yazıyor
with
ya.
crucible trees. Here's a relatively simple low-level example. It gets a bit crazier as you approach the endgame. Speaking of the endgame, in endgame crucible encounters, you'll occasionally find igneous geodes, currency items that can be cracked open to reveal a primeval remnant. This is a map-like item that grants access to the Forge of the Titans, the culmination of your crucible journey. These primeval remnants always generate as rare items. Half of their mods are upsides and half are downsides.
Unique weapon.
The upsides generally increase the rewards of the area or add special crafting options. For example, causing monsters to drop divination cards or magmatic ore, a form of tradable itemized crucible tree experience.
Spell damage
The
yapamazsın diyor.
downsides are quite punitive compared to most endgame maps. Ideally, you
Ultimatum
want to
gibi bir
find
şey
a
yapmışlar
primeval
ya.
remnant that is really rewarding
Çevir
upsides
biraz.
alongside downsides you
Şeyini
can handle.
yapacağım.
If you don't think you'll survive
İncelemesini
the visits to the
yapacağım
Forge of the
izledikten sonra.
Titans,
Şimdi anlayanlar
trade the
anlasın.
remnant
Sonra ben
away
her
for
şeyi
someone
anlatacağım
else and
size.
gamble on cracking open another geode.
Chris abi
If you
adlarda konuşuyor
survive
yani.
and
Çeviri
manage to
yapmam
reach
şu an.
the end of the area, you'll find the aforementioned forge, which allows you to merge crucible trees on two items together.
O artık.
The way this process works is that you provide two items of the same class. For example, a pair of bows, a pair of shields, or a pair of one-hand axes. One of these items will be melted down and applied to the other, which will keep its regular properties. Their crucible trees will be merged together in an unpredictable
Skill ağaçlarını
way, taking
birleştiriyor
elements
burada.
of each one. This is a little reminiscent of how recombinators applied to item mods, taking parts of each crucible tree and merging them together, as well as randomly
İtemleri
upgrading,
birleştirmiyor bu arada.
downgrading, or
İtemin
mutating
skill ağaçlarını
skills on the
birleştiriyor.
resultant tree. While this process can create some really powerful trees if you get skills you wanted from both items, it can also completely wreck your precious trees, so take care choosing which you risk combining.
Oğlum bu lig mekaniği baya manyak bir şey
Also,
duruyor ya.
like recombinators, there are ways to manipulate the system to improve your odds at getting certain outcomes. For example, any skills that have been allocated are more likely to show up in the resultant crucible tree.
Okey. Seçtiğiniz puanlar
By default,
birleşince
you can
gelme
only
şansı
add
yüksek
crucible
oluyor.
trees to non-unique items. But it's possible to get a mod on the Forge of the Titans map that allows you to imbue a unique item with a crucible tree. Which can
Normalde
then be
unique
leveled up
itemlerin
by
skill ağacı
arranging the
olmuyormuş ama
crucible
özel yerde
items.
yapabiliyormuşsun bu skill
To
ağacını.
combine crucible trees on unique items together, you'll want to find a crystalline geode and crack it open to reveal the secret higher level version of the Forge of the Titans. I
Crystalline
probably
geode.
shouldn't say too much about it, but it will let you do some interesting things with crucible trees. There's an
Bakalım.
important thing to note about crucible trees on unique weapons. In addition to being much harder to unlock, there's a special rule about how they can be combined. A unique weapon must be combined with another copy of the same unique weapon.
Aynı
to merge
unique'den
their
iki tane
trees
alman
together.
lazımmış.
Because this destroys one copy, getting a good crucible tree on a unique weapon makes it insanely valuable. It may also
Matchblood'u
raise the trade value
birleştireceğiz
of
değil mi bu
all
sezon
unique
şimdi?
weapons by quite a lot, as players sacrifice them trying to create perfect crucible trees. Occasionally, you'll find a crucible passive skill tree with a special skill that indicates that the item will sell to vendors for a specific item
Bu
in
arada hepsi
addition to its
gösterdi.
regular sale
Aynen
price.
büyük ihtimal
These
evet
vendor
hepsi
skills
gösterdi
usually
değil mi?
occur relatively deeply in the tree, so take some effort to allocate. but usually
Divine
not
Orba
worth
satarsın
the
itemi
choices
diyor.
you'd make when leveling the item up for use.
İtemi Divine Orb'a satarsın diyor. What the
You an
fuck?
interesting choice about whether you want to use the item or sell it to a vendor, and whether you want to spend your Crucible experience either revealing new trees to hunt for good skills,
İyi bak.
leveling
Toxic
up
Ray en
items
güzel bu
to
mekanik
use,
için.
or leveling up items to sell.
Şimdi Pathfinder'a ne yapacaklar
Crucible
bakalım.
also features its own unique items you can earn. For example, El Abin's Visage, a unique helmet, is special in that it's the only armor piece other than shields that can receive Crucible passive skill trees.
Ha.
Wearing it allows you to double down on certain
Kal-
properties that are
kalkan
only
mı?
available through these trees.
Kask.
There are several other unique items exclusive to Crucible for you to discover in this league. Crucible is a dual combat crafting league with a focus on encounter difficulty scaling and deep weapon customization.
Oğlum bu
at a
mekanik
power
çok
level
hoşuma
we've
gitti
never
benim.
seen before.
Baya güzel.
Without a doubt, some of Path of Exile's most powerful weapons will be forged in Crucible. We can't wait to see what
Manyak
they
şeyler
manage to
yapılacak
create.
yani.
Like all recent Path of Exile expansions, Crucible includes a lot of changes with the goal of
Bunu
improving
ben
Path
anlamadım.
of
Atlas
Exile's
GTV dediğin ne?
One area we wanted to address was mobility on the Atlas passive tree. Often, you'll find yourself in a situation where you want to specialize in leagues that are on entirely different sides of the Atlas
Evet
tree.
ya bu bende çok
Or maybe
oluyor.
you want to focus on the type of altar that isn't near the leagues you have picked. To solve this, Path of Exile Crucible introduces Atlas gateways. These are nodes that you can allocate on the Atlas tree that allow instant travel between two locations.
Oha çok iyi
There are
bak.
3 pairs of gateways.
Ben buraya
each
gidiyorum
allowing
ama
travel
kırmızı
from the
altar
left
almak
side of the
istiyorum.
tree to the right side or
Buradan
vice
buraya
versa.
direkt geçebileceğim.
Each end of
Güzel.
the gateway consumes one Atlas skill point to allocate.
Ya mesela
or
benim
potentially
alacağım
save
şeyler
you
hep
large
sağda.
amounts of travel points.
Ama ben sola gitmek istiyorum. Sol altarı alacağım. Çok iyi.
In this expansion,
Bridge.
we're targeting a couple of endgame leagues that have fallen behind other leagues on the Atlas tree.
Breach'te inşallah bütün sprintler aynı yere düşüyordur.
In the live version of Path of Exile, there are 5 tiers of Breachstone.
Breach'te
In Path of Exile Crucible,
bütün
we're raising
sprintler
the
aynı anda
area
düşmesini
levels of
getirmeleri lazım.
Breachstones to a much higher baseline level. 81 for elemental ones, 82 for physical, and 83 for chaos. Now that the regular Breachstones are much higher level, we have retired charged, enriched, and pure Breachstones. They will be converted to regular ones. We have also changed how flawless Breachstones are acquired. Previously, you could only get them from Maven invitations, but we prefer access to the hardest Breach content to actually come from playing Breach. Now there are 2 ways to get flawless Breachstones, through Blessings, which are now rarer as a result, and through a skill on the Atlas tree.
Atlas ağacına da eklemişler. Aradaki bütün şeyleri
We've also
kaldırmışlar.
improved the pacing of Breach encounters. Previously, Breaches felt pretty good early on, but quickly tapered off in density to the point where you wanted to abandon the Breach because it just felt like not enough monsters were spawning. Our changes now keep Breaches feeling dense throughout, leaning more on the side of it feeling overwhelming towards the end of the Breach.
Canavar sayısı
We've also
açıldıkça
reduced the
artıyormuş.
duration of Breaches so there is constant monster pressure and you can get on with your mapping sooner. There are a whole bunch of other breach
hala
changes
şeyi
you can read
söylemediler.
about in the patch notes, such as changes to the Betrayal Research Safe House, Breach Scarabs, Breach Stones from Kirik missions, the Breach Harvest crafting option, the Fragment Stash tab, Divination cards, Breach unique items, Atlas passives, and so on.
Oha, birisi değişen
We're
şeyi
also
söyleyeceklermiş.
revamping Abyss in a similar way.
Manifesto diye bir şey yok. Yamanotları var, o da
Abyssal
bugün.
depths now always contain an Abyssal Lich. Previously, the prevailing gameplay was to check the loading screen art of an Abyssal Depths to see if
Oha.
it contained a Lich, and bail out if it didn't. Now, the depths always contain a Lich, removing the need for this step.
Abyss
While
artık
the
her
pace of
zaman
encountering
boss
Abyssal
olacakmış.
Liches is unchanged. Abyssal depths are rarer than before. However, Abysses now have a chance to spawn a Stygian Spire in place of their reward chest, which will drop all of the jewels and other items you'd normally receive, as well as a Stygian Vice.
Stygian Vice artık maplerde
In
gelecek.
addition,
Bu
you'll
baya
currently
güzel bu arada.
always get a 4-hole abyss alongside your Abyssal depths. Previously,
Bu bayağı
Abyssal
güzel.
depths could only spawn
Oyun
immediately
ne zaman
after a
açılıyor?
single
Oyun hep
Abyssal
açık ya,
hole,
oyun
which
kapanmıyor
prevented
hiç.
you from getting full value from the
Yeni
abyss.
lig 7'sinde geliyor. 7
The
Nisan'da.
Lightless Legion notable passive has been replaced with a new skill which grants Stygian Spires in your maps drop items with +1 to item level.
Bu
This is
güzel
intended
bak.
to allow players to continue to be able to obtain item level 86 Stygian Vices
Bu
and
bayağı
other base
güzel.
types as a reward for specializing in Abyss. The small passives leading up to this notable passive have
Gittiği
also
yer de
been
güzel bu
replaced.
arada. Şuradan 4 puan
We've
vereceksin
done a
sadece.
balance pass on Abyssal Lich encounters to make them more appropriately difficult relative to the current standard of endgame encounters. Abyss uniques have had some balance attention also, and the details are in the patch notes.
Abyss unique'lerini de
Overall, these
dengelemişler.
changes ensure you can play a wider variety of leagues in the endgame, both through being able to access them more easily and because Breach and Abyss now feel far more modern and competitive with other popular league
Abyss
modes.
güzel olmuş da Breach hala ben. Yani Breach'te tek tek Splinter
A
toplamak
big
işi
goal of the
kötü.
Crucible expansion is to provide a lot of new ways to build characters and to breathe new life into older builds.
SRS öldürdüler mi acaba?
To
bakalım.
achieve this, we're doing two things.
Chris abim,
Firstly,
konuş.
we've created many more interesting options for one of Path of Exile's core build systems, the passive skill tree, by overhauling many of its masteries. Secondly, we have revamped two specific
Burası çok
ascendancy
tehlikeli.
classes. As we reviewed the masteries on Path of Exile's passive skill tree, we
Burası çok
realized that a
tehlikeli.
lot of the choices were rather bland and could be a lot more exciting. We went through the masteries one by one and tried to come up with as many interesting stats as we could, ignoring what was currently there.
Once we had a short list of high-quality stats, we added in the existing ones that used to be on each mastery and picked the 6 best. All of the leftover ones have been saved for later or used in places like unique items. This process was performed on approximately half of the masteries on the tree, initially targeting the ones that needed the attention the most. Previously, some masteries only had 4 options, so we've tried to increase as many as possible to 6 options. We've also added a couple of new mastery types that we felt were missing. Let's look at an example.
Life
the
Mastery.
Life Mastery choices.
Bu da önemli.
You can see some of the interesting new options, such as the ability to manipulate your low life and full life thresholds, which allows you to more effectively use the damage while on full life support gem and many unique items. Getting a large increase to maximum life when you have no life on your body armor not only works really well with a whole lot of unique
Oğlum bu
items,
kötü bu arada. Vitality'nin manasını düşürme nerede? Vitality'nin manasını düşürme nerede? Alo. Armor ve Energy Shield Mastery.
Is tying the mechanics together better. Instead of some being about armor and some being about energy shield, we've tried to make sure each really emphasizes having both armor and energy shield.
Alttaki güzel bu arada.
On
Kaos
the
Damage
Leech
almak.
Mastery, we've combined the 3 increased life mana and energy shield recovery stats
Sonunda
into one
yani.
choice that affects all of them. The space we've freed up has been used to add some powerful new options.
İkincisi
such
güzel
as
bu
a
arada.
portion of your leech applying instantly.
%40 Armor Evasion bayağı iyi.
The Spell Suppression Mastery also has many interesting options.
Al işte.
Your chance to suppress spell damage becoming lucky is extremely useful before you've optimized your gear
Oy,
and
o
haven't
güzel
reached
bayağı lan.
100% yet. The third option rewards you for stacking more than 100% spell suppression, which previously had few benefits. Now it's something you can plan your itemization around. While looking at masteries, we
Okumak
noted
lazım
that there
onları.
were some mechanics
Lucky
that didn't
ne oluyor
have enough
anlatırım
passive
birazdan.
tree support, so we decided to add some more options and passive skill choices for those mechanics. We also wanted to grant more access to certain types of masteries in specific parts of the skill tree.
Rezervler duruyordur
For example,
inşallah
in
hala.
order to allow more access to the attack mastery, we've added an attack cluster by the Templar and one between the Ranger and Shadow.
Okay. Yukarıya da ekleseniz keşke.
We wanted to create more access to other forms of recovery such as
Double
regen
effect,
and
yok.
recoup. So we've added some
Çok
new passive
kolay bir
skill
mantığı var,
clusters.
anlatırım birazdan.
Note that there is now a new mastery called Recovery.
Recovery Mastery.
We've also added more capacity for investment in certain mechanics that we
Ya
felt could be
link skill'ini
improved,
kullanan mı
such
var?
as link skills,
Neyse.
stun mitigation, and marks. These mastery
Mark
improvements
güzel.
and passive tree changes
Mark güzel
are
bu
just
arada.
some of the ones introduced
Olduğu
in
yer de
Path of
güzel.
Exile Crucible. We look forward to your feedback on the rest when you check out the passive skill tree next week.
Ekstra projectile var mıydı lan o? Ekstra projectile skill ağacında. Skill ağacında ekstra projectile var mıydı lan
Both
önceden?
have been significantly changed in Path of Exile Crucible. These changes reinforce their respective identities while adding some new options to build around.
O iyi baya.
The Saboteur is definitely the ascendancy class most aligned with traps.
Sabotörcüler burada mı,
The
trapçiler?
old version of the Saboteur made it difficult to play anything but traps or mines.
Trapçiler burada
The
mı?
new version has more builds available, including a whole new specialization, triggers. There are 2 notable passives that help with this.
Bu ne oğlum?
Like Clockwork grants you the increased cooldown recovery rate stat, which is a
Cooldown
pretty rare
recovery
one.
mi?
This is great for triggered spells as it indirectly
Al
increases
işte.
their damage. This notable also makes your enemies have longer cooldowns.
Evet, Custom
which can
Crit,
be useful in
Cyclone,
certain boss fights,
Ice Spear, Saboteur.
causing the Maven's memory game to occur less often.
Oha
The
o
Perfect
iyiymiş bak.
Crime notable passive summons 2 trigger bots, which override the location of where a triggered spell is being cast, and instead
Bittik.
causes it to trigger twice, once from each
YouTube
enemy.
videolarına hazır olun şimdi. Custom Crit, Ice
The
Spear,
layout of the
Saboteur,
Saboteur's trap
One
and mine
Divine.
ascendancy passives has changed, so that there aren't separate 4-pointers for traps and mines. Now each one has a 2-pointer that is connected to the same shared 4-pointer.
Güzel.
We have also completely reworked Bomb Specialist to be specifically tied to
Chance
area damage,
%50.
so it's a slightly more general skill. It both gives you some area damage as well as some defense against incoming area damage against you.
Değişikmiş o kadar. Bu biraz
The
değişik.
Pathfinder has been overdue
Allah,
for some attention,
Pathfinder, dur, bizimki
especially with
geldi.
recent features such as concoction skills that she could get the ability to specialize in. We also wanted the flask-themed ascendancy to have a proactive way of improving life flask usage. Master Distiller allows you to turn most of your skills into concoction-like effects.
Lan dur
Master
okuyordum ben.
Surgeon now effectively gives all of your life flasks the enduring effect, previously only
Oha.
found on mana flasks. Finally,
O iyi bu
both of
arada.
the major flask-themed branches now have some form of flask charge
İyi
recovery.
şey duruyor. 3 charge kazanma duruyor.
There are other improvements
Custom
to
Crit
the
niye
Pathfinder
sevmiyorum? Ben seviyorum.
such as
İnsanlar beceremiyor.
surprise
Beceremeyip bana
now
geliyor
interacting
ve
with
onları
Wither to
sevmiyorum.
improve all forms of your chaos damage rather than just attack forms of it.
O
Check out the
güzel bu arada.
details in the
O
patch
bayağı
notes
iyi.
we'll be
Onu bir daha
posting after the
göster.
live stream.
Wither on hit var.
Path of Exile
O
Crucible
bayağı iyi.
introduces 9 new Val skills. Last expansion, there was an emphasis on melee Val skills. In Crucible, we're making sure that many other types
Lig
of
mekaniğinden
builds get new skills
bahsettiler.
to build.
Bakacağız tekrardan bitsin.
Val skills let us introduce quite powerful effects that we couldn't
Build
normally
bufflanmış,
give to a
aynen.
regular skill that can be used constantly. They also implicitly act as a buff to the underlying skill.
Val Toxic Rain
Val
yoksa?
Absolution upgrades one of your Sentinels of Absolution into an Apparition of Innocence.
Bu ne oğlum?
You can only have one apparition at once, but just check out these massive AoE skills it uses.
Adam Innocence çağırdı oğlum. Adam Innocence çağırdı.
Val Arctic Armor instantly encases you in ice, preventing non-instant actions including movement, but granting massive damage reduction against hits.
Bunu Diablo'da almışlar oğlum. Diablo'da böyle skill vardı.
To regenerate your energy shield and mana at a fast rate.
Diablo'da böyle skill
Both
yok
the
muydu
damage
lan?
reduction and regeneration last for a few seconds, or until you have been hit 3 times.
Bu bayağı OP
It
bu
cannot be
arada.
manually cancelled.
Gauntlet'te falan kullanırlar bunu.
Because the skill is instant, it's a great emergency button against dangerous boss slams. It also makes you count as being frozen,
Oha.
despite Arctic Armor normally making you freeze immune. Having another way to self-freeze may be of interest to a few
Bard
mad
ulti atıyor
science
kendine.
build creators in the community.
Bu güzel bu arada lan. Bu bozuk bu
Val
arada.
Lightning Arrow fires a barrage of piercing projectiles that cause lightning to strike nearby targets whenever they hit an enemy.
Uy bu çok şekil
After a
lan.
short
Oo,
amount
bu
of time,
ne?
or when they collide with terrain,
Çok
the
güzel değil mi
arrows
bu?
randomly change direction and continue flying. This occurs a number of times before the arrows expire. Each arrow can hit the same
Lightning Arrow'u da
target once
bufflamışlardır
per redirect.
inşallah.
Because the arrows travel for a set time before redirecting, rather than a set distance, projectile speed modifiers affect the distance traveled. High projectile speed lets you clear out huge areas with them, while reducing your projectile speed increases the chance of them hitting the same target multiple times.
Bu bayağı güzel
With
olmuş.
very low projectile speed, the skill can hit a
Benimki bir
single
mob asla
target
vurmaz
20
büyük
plus
ihtimal.
times. Val Reap conjures a ring of scythes that deal damage to all enemies in a circular area.
Oy.
The scythes leave behind
Görünüşü çok
force
şekil
blood
bunun.
that deals heavy physical damage over time to enemies standing in it, and for a short duration after they leave it. Val Reap instantly grants a large number of the blood charges used by normal Reap on use, as well as temporarily higher maximum
Sezon
blood
başlamadan
charge
yine
capacity,
başlayanlar oynayabileceği hepsini yapacağım.
substantially
Hepsini
powering up the
yapacağım.
regular version of the skill.
Hepsini göstereceğim
Path of Exile
bu yeniden
Crucible
sonra.
introduces 5 other Val skills we'll reveal over the next week.
Bu
Val
skill ne lan? Ben bu
Weapon,
skill'i biliyorum.
Val Domination, Val Ice Shot, Val
Ice Shot,
Rejuvenation
Ice Shot.
Totem, and Val Firestorm. This expansion also introduces more than 10 new unique items. There are 3 in particular I'd like to show you today.
Path of Exile
Blood
2
Price is a
FPS yok
unique
eder mi?
helmet that has
Etmez.
a new effect, reserving enemy maximum life.
Hı?
This does exactly what it implies, causing nearby enemies to start at 92% maximum life. While this increases your clear speed against all enemies, it's especially useful against bosses. The helmet's drawback is that it reduces your maximum life, but provides decent life regeneration and block and stun recovery
oğlum,
to counteract this.
boss'a girerken bunu takıp çıkarsam ne olacak?
Chaos damage over time to heal you while you're leeching life. While the amulet provides a decent amount of life leech itself, it'll certainly require a few tricks to unlock its full potential.
What the
Widow
fuck?
Hail is a unique bow that is different from any other bow in Path of Exile. As a weapon, it does basically no base damage and doesn't grant any stats of its own, but it does dramatically increase the power of mods provided by your quiver. Needless to
oğlum?
say, this could produce some pretty ridiculous outcomes with good rare or unique quivers. We'll reveal some of the other new uniques over the coming week.
Yani
Ruthless is a game mode that we released alongside the
%200 diyor
expansion late
mesela.
last year.
Projectile
It's
bir
designed
alsam
around extreme item
2 projectile
scarcity
de
and is
ekleyecek mi?
challenging because you're constantly behind the item power.
Eklerse belki.
So far, it has found a very passionate audience of players who love how
Ya
rewarding
Naruto'su
item drops
kanka.
feel in such an austere environment. We have some small improvements to Ruthless and Path of Exile
Şimdi
Crucible.
bunu anlatsın.
Firstly, Eternal Orbs are back in Ruthless. These are an extremely powerful currency.
Aynen, zaten
that
oraya
allows you
ekle
to
kanka.
print an item
Eternal
and restore
Orb'u.
it if you're unhappy with the result of crafting. We disabled these game-wide 7
Val basıp bir şeyler yaparsın yine bu da. Bu şey bitsin, hepsini tek tek inceleyeceğiz.
Ruthless does not have the base game's crafting feature set, so we have enabled Eternal Orbs to drop in Ruthless, albeit extremely rarely.
Ya istediğin kadar Eternal Orb ekle. Buradan ezince drop geliyor mu? Geliyor. Her yerden geliyor drop. Bak burada. Burada doluyor bak, görüyor musun?
It'll be held in ruthless hardcore solo self-found and will require you to kill both the Uber Searing Exarch and the Uber Eater of Worlds.
Uber Searing
making it
Exarch,
by
Uber
far the
Eater of
hardest
Worlds.
event we have ever run.
SSF Hardcore Ruthless'ta.
Work with our design team to add a new unique item to Path of Exile. They'll also receive a transferable Ultra VIP ticket to ExileCon in July.
Ya oğlum.
If they aren't able to attend or already have a ticket, then they are allowed to sell this one as they see fit. Second and third place finishers will receive a transferable VIP ticket to ExileCon that can also be sold at their discretion.
Bu şeyleri beni çok şey yapıyor ya. Moralimi bozuyor yani.
Hardcore solo self-found on launch day. Best of luck to everyone.
Hani bir tane etkinlik yapmışlar. Etkinlikte SF Hardcore Ruthless'ta ödül de ExileCon'a bilet yani. Normal ligde yapsana bunu. Yani normal SF Hardcore'da yapsana.
While tickets to the in-person event are very hard to get, we'll be streaming the entire event for free. At ExileCon, we'll reveal our latest updates on Path of Exile 2, Path of Exile Mobile, and the next Path of Exile 1 expansion. Make a note in your calendar, tell your friends, and don't miss it. The second day of the Path of Exile livestream culminates in a competitive race event between some of Path of
yarış yine
Exile's best
olacakmış, güzel.
players. In order to select the 4 competitors, we're going to run qualifier events during the months of April and May. The winner of each event will receive a VIP ExileCon ticket, return flights to
yarışçılar burada mı?
and will compete in the race event live on stage.
Ceceyman nerede?
All 4 qualifiers in the final
Yarışçılara
event will
bilet
run
vereceklermiş.
321
İlk 4'e
version of Path of
girenlere.
Exile,
4 kişi hiç
which will receive
götüreceklermiş.
a fair amount of early game balance work that will change the racing meta quite a lot.
You'll be able to read more in the patch notes. Once 3.21 releases next week, you'll be able to solve the new meta, practice hard, compete in the qualifier events, and hopefully win your place on stage in July.
Alongside Path of Exile Crucible, we're introducing a few new types of microtransactions.
Yeni işte asıl kısım burada.
Today is that of mannequins. These are hideout decorations that you can place to show off sets of microtransactions you have assembled. You can equip them with your spare micros and pose them in various
Asıl
ways.
şey burada şimdi.
It's also possible to swap
Asıl
your
duyuru
entire
burası.
outfit with the mannequins one, which lets you easily store micro sets to be retrieved later.
Üf.
Other new microtransactions coming up include wrapping paper, which lets you gift wrap items to hand to other players, or even drop in town for random people to pick up.
What the fuck?
Today we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Lithomancer and Enchanter packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value and points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Crucible League, and will leave the store forever.
2 tane yeni supporter pack
As
geliyormuş.
always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Lithomancer series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions.
Portal
The
güzel.
Tunnel Bear isn't just
What
adorable,
the-
it will also take the place of the Crawler in Delves, lighting your surroundings
Bu ne
and
lan?
laying down cables.
Bu güzelmiş bak.
Apparently, this is what happens when your bear gets into a kilo of sulfite. Might explain what happened to Nico.
Bu güzelmiş.
The Ring of the Demon Slayer attempts to exorcise rare and unique demons when you hit them. The souls of defeated demons are banished to the depths below.
Yani.
The ancient stone of the Lithomancer's armor set crumbles when you take damage, revealing the crimson core inside. The
Ne?
stone reforms if
Hiçbir
you
şey
haven't
kalmadı oğlum, bu ne?
recently. A sip from the ancestral granite flask causes a Kurui ancestor to appear and surround you in protective wards.
Üf, bu neymiş böyle? Bu bayağı iyi.
The ancestral portal encases you in molten armor when you travel through it.
Bu da bayağı iyi.
The summoned Kurui ancestor rallies you to battle and honestly seems to have an unhealthy obsession with combat.
Go forth and conquer.
Ever want to practice
No
running
way.
away from volatiles? The gunpowder foot attachment straps explosives to your legs, dispersing lit gunpowder behind you. Be careful, you can only outrun it for so long before it catches up.
What the... Bu çok iyiymiş.
The Enchanter
Oh,
pack
boy.
series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Parrot of Exile pet parrots your exile. We'll just let it speak for itself.
Oha, papağan eklemişler Allah, what the...
Do that here.
I need more mana.
Bu güzelmiş bak,
Drinking
bunlar
from
iyi.
the bottled storm jade flask encases you in a surging tornado, churning up the
3
ground in your
FPS.
wake. If
Flaska
you
bastığın
stand
için 3
perfectly
FPS
still
var.
while wearing the enchanted armor set, it will attract butterflies to flutter around you. Be careful not to disturb them. Sick of high-fiving giant purple appendages? The Ritualist's Breach Ring visually transforms breaches you find into occult summoning spells.
O artık. Birici
The
değiştiriyor.
Enchanter's crafting bench replaces the normal crafting bench in your hideout with a suite of tools fit for a master artisan. The various
bayağı
crafting
şekilmiş.
stations burst into life as you use them.
Bu bayağı iyi lan.
If you've ever wanted to remind your character who's really in charge, the Puppeteer's back attachment has you covered. It truly
Bu
is
da
the
güzelmiş.
sinister presence pulling the strings.
Bu güzelmiş.
These new packs are available right now
Düşünüyorlar.
at
Bunları
Path of
düşündükleri kadar lige
Exile.com/purchase.
düşünüyorlar zaten de neyse.
Purchases like these directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 1
Bu lig
and
güzel bir şey demek. Hemen kaybolur.
The Forge and Gemling packs leave the store forever at the launch of the Crucible League, so now's your last chance to purchase them. Thank you for your continued support.
Kadro'yu almak isteyen varsa son
We're about to
şans.
start the Q&A with Ziggy D. After that, we'll post the full patch notes for Path of Exile Crucible. As we approach release next week, our community team will post Crucible's challenges, information on how to update
İlk bakan en başta gösterirler. Bakacağız birazdan.
and information on how to prepare for Crucible's launch.
Şimdi burada bitecek büyük ihtimal.
We expect to launch the new mystery box and this season's Kerrick's Vault Pass, which can be purchased with points and has a new free
Challenge ödülleri göstermiyorlar. Onu hafta içinde veriyorlar.
Challenge ödülleri hafta içinde geliyor.
Forge some powerful weapons with you next week.